With all of this money, you know, when Bill Clinton came back from the '94 loss, in '95 he started running ads, beginning his presidential campaign. It feels almost like these outside groups might start in on the president beginning 2012, very soon into after this election. Do you think that's going to happen? That we're going to be in a kind of a permanent campaign that will go from this one in 2010 already to begin 2012?
I think we're certainly in a permanent campaign. But I would add that I'm not going to sit here and maintain that the Democrats are taking a shellacking because of a money disadvantage. I don't think that's the case. At the end of the day, I give the American people more credit. I think that they were reacting to disappointment over how the economy has stalled. And, you know, I know the Republican argument is, well, they're against Obamacare and all this stuff. I happen to think that it is a tad wrong in that I don't think people know a whole lot about the health care plan. What I do think they react to is that Washington took its eye off the ball. People
Jack,
were losing their jobs and their homes.
I've just heard that CBS News projects that the House will now go into Republican hands. Cheri, your thoughts?
Yay. I mean, we're not surprised. It's just a matter of how much at this point, and I think we've known that for a while. I disagree with Jack. I think the American people really do care about Obamacare. I think they're against it. They know about it. They're familiar enough about what it is. They don't want it. They don't like it. And they've been screaming literally at their elected officials, mainly the Democrats, for a year and a half. And so they've been very, very vocal about it. And I think that the president runs the risk of being primaried for his reelection, and I don't think it's going to come from an ideological left. I think at this point you're going to have Democrats wanting to primary him from a competency standpoint. They don't think he was able to make the sale on health care, and he forced them to walk the plank, and a lot of them are losing their careers tonight as a result of that.
Let me ask you now, though, if John Boehner takes the leadership of the House, one of their priorities is going to be repealing health care. In our exit polling tonight, it suggests 48% of the people said they want to see repeal. 48% of the people also said they either want to see more of this health care program that's in place or leave it as it is. That doesn't seem like a mandate for repeal.
I think what you have now is an opportunity for real bipartisan discussion and some fights, yes. And the American people wanted that before. You recall there were a couple of points over the past year when Barack Obama, Harry Reid, and Nancy Pelosi kept Democrats in Washington trying to force them to vote. They wanted this done. They thought they could, recover from it before the election, but they were desperate not to let the Democrat House members and Senate members go home and get an earful from their constituents. They were afraid of that, and that's part of the problem. This was rammed through. So there will be some fights, but I think the American people have spoken pretty loud and clear. They don't like it.
But in a wave election, if John Boehner only gets 48% of the wave election saying we want to repeal health care, and over a vast majority saying we want something done on the economy and jobs, doesn't he run the risk of what happened to President Obama, which is he spends a lot of time talking about health care, and everybody's saying, hey, wait, we just elected you to deal with jobs.
Right. He's going to have to walk and chew gum at the same time, and I'm pretty confident he can do so. The agenda the American people want has been pretty clear, and the Tea Party's played a huge part of that, obviously.
I think, John, you hit right on the money here, and this is the point I was making. The American people were enormously frustrated with good cause because our leadership, I believe, took its eye off the ball. People were losing their jobs and their homes. And if the Republicans now come in and say, let's talk about health care, people are going to be scratching their heads again saying, what does that have to do with the fact that my neighbor is being foreclosed on? What does it have to do with the fact that my brother-in-law has lost his job? I think this would be a huge strategic mistake.
Well, part of the problem.
But here's the really good news. The Republicans take the House. They now have to participate in governance. And I know there are rumors around that John Boehner's hired a food taster. I know that Mitch McConnell's going to be thinking a lot about the Tea Party people in Kentucky and Rand Paul, reminding him every day what can happen. But they're going to have to govern. And I hope you're right about bipartisan efforts to address the very serious problems that confront the country.
And the other thing is, you remember, Obama promised that unemployment would be at 8% and it's 10%. So the American people don't trust him. They don't trust his competency, and I think that's the big problem for him.
Quick question, Jack. Given your Clinton experience, how does President Obama now battle back? The Republicans have the momentum. They may even claim a mandate from tonight. What are the dance steps for President Obama to come back from tonight to where President Clinton did ultimately?
I know what we did. And, you know, in January of 1995, after losing the House and the Senate, President Clinton's re-elect number was 39%. By the end of that calendar year, there was no way Bob Dole could beat Bill Clinton. I mean, the race was effectively over. Now, I say half facetiously, we did that by running the best Republican administration in my lifetime.
There was some triangulation,
we
yes.
did move to the middle. We balanced the budget. We put 100,000 cops on the street. We signed welfare reform.
May I say the brilliant thing Clinton was able to do, and it remains to be seen whether President Obama can do something similar, is he took issues Republicans pushed that he didn't necessarily get behind, and then he eventually got credit for it.
Yes,
and welfare reform and balancing the budget.
Here's my guess. Okay, I
And
don't know. They haven't called and asked for my advice. They haven't told me what they're going to do. I don't think President Obama will follow the Clinton model. That would be my guess. I don't expect to see him do the same thing. And by the way, I don't think John Boehner is going to be another Newt Gingrich. So I don't think the chemistry is there for the kind of thing that happened in '95. I think what you're more likely to see is President Obama looking at the Harry Truman model and running against a say no obstructionist Congress.
Combat, but can he do that if Democrats still control the Senate? Will people get that message clearly if it's a split?
No, I think he's got a couple of battles to fight. As I said, I think part of it's going to be in his own party in terms of being primaried, and that's not going to happen 2 years from now. That's something that we'll start hearing about within a few months. So you're going to have a lot of Democrats having to make the decision: do they want to play ball with the Republicans? And we've heard, a lot of Democrats who they want to extend the Bush tax cuts. All of them. They don't want to necessarily follow the president, so he's going to have battle lines drawn everywhere.
Where does the challenge come within the Democratic Party?
But there was a poll. The AP
language.
poll had 47% wanted to challenge the
I
president.
understand
Do
that,
you find that shocking?
But I'm asking.
Jack, look
yes,
at the
but
body
I'm
language.
asking
Look at the body language of Hillary Clinton. She's halfway around the world. She's 9,000 miles away.
Are you saying she's going to run against? She's going to challenge President Obama?
I'm just saying these are some
see
things to look at. Keep your eye
don't
on
see
it.
that. I mean,
and you've got Howard Dean, who's really stepping up his speaking schedule and being very visible. You're going to have some folks that are losing tonight because of the incompetency of this president, and they might be angry enough.
I'm not going to say that
Howard
Howard Dean will run. I wouldn't consider that a significant threat. Is that fair to say? I think what we might see in the next couple of years is very real interest in a third party movement. I think that part of the message we're getting from people, and by the way, congratulations on these victories, and I mean that sincerely. But there's another message out there from the American people. They're saying a pox on both your houses. And if the Republicans fall into the trap, for example, of not focusing on the real issues facing the country, spend all their time talking about repealing Obamacare, the feeling of a pox on both your houses is going to be, I believe, overwhelming.
May I just throw a question out there, only to be answered if there's time, otherwise consider it just
We'll do it
thrown
quickly.
out there.
Go ahead, throw it out.
Talking about third party, a different movement, you said, can President Obama paint Congress as sort of the no, or Republicans as the no party? Is there a growing movement out there that we don't know how large it is that thinks it's okay when Congress doesn't do anything because they don't do a whole lot right? I'm just asking
That's
the question.
what they want, but they don't want to be. They don't want just the Republicans to be just the party of no. Right now, tonight, what they're saying is we want you to be the party of hell no. Can I say that?
You can, yes. Yeah. You can say. You can even go further if you'd like.
That's something that may be watered down. I think that we won't be focusing just on Obamacare. There's obviously going to be jobs, but it's going to be relatively focused. But you're right, Jack. I mean, Republicans have to perform and be focused, or 2 years from now, we'll be the ones crying in our beer.
Jack, there was a big majority in our exit polls that said people think the government's involved in too much, as Mark mentioned earlier, too much of our lives, too much that individuals and private enterprise should be doing. Does President Obama have the same problem President Clinton had, and who had to come out and State of the Union and say the era of big government is over? Even if he's going to run a Harry Truman kind of attack on Congress, does he have to redefine himself as something different than the liberal he's been successfully characterized as?
I don't need to. It did strike me from Mark's report from the White House or rather from New York, that 40% of the people must be mighty confused
Right.
about where they are. But I think yes. I mean, look, it's a huge challenge to figure out how to sort of corral this opinion. People are against government doing so much and spending so much. But we're going to face some really tough questions about, okay, let's cut everything. What are we going to cut? We're going to cut your Medicaid? We're going to cut your Medicare? We're going to cut your Social Security? Are we going to cut defense spending? Are we going to reduce the intelligence budget? We just, intercepted 2 lethal bombs on their way to this country. So are we going to have an across-the-board cut that takes 25% out of the intelligence budget? These are very difficult choices, and when you get down there with the sharp pencil and the green eye shades and try to figure out where this money's coming from, it's not an easy thing to do.
And the voters want the Republicans to do that because the Democrats haven't been doing it, and that's the message we're getting, help make those hard decisions.
We're going to have to pause here.